Guys, my friends from NordVPN are back, and they are better than ever. Now, I got to let you know about NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro. This offers advanced protections from malware, phishing scams, and other online threats. Let's say you're downloading a file. Threat Protection Pro protects it from malware. Clicking a link, Threat Protection Pro will block websites that are fake. It's the best. NordVPN is truly the best. Threat Protection Pro even stops web trackers to beef up your privacy. And it doesn't even need an active VPN connection for it to work. Just enable the feature when you download the NordVPN app. Then sit back, relax, and enjoy a better version of the internet. This works on Mac OS or Windows. Guys, just go to nordvpn.com/Sonnen. Get the NordVPN 2-year plan plus 4 extra months. It is risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Guys, you want me to really save you a step? Just click on the link below.
Volkanovski versus Evloev. Now, guys, when I make these videos, I have an ego attached to this. One thing about YouTube is they not only audit you, they will publicly audit you. And I know you guys come over and you click and you enjoy it and you move on with your day. It's a very, very small amount of people that will take the time to look at how many clicks did Chael get. There's a much smaller amount of people that will then go to somebody else's site and then juxtapose that. But I will tell you, I'm one of the guys, and my ego is directly related to it. And I know coming out of the gate, I can't do any business with Evloev and Volkanovski. I cannot do any, but there's a chance that my mother never sees this video, who claims that she watches all of them. Now, I want to make a point, because do whatever the hell you want with that, and Evloev is a complete stud. There's no insult being given. I believe he is 19-0. If I'm wrong, he is 19-1. But I believe he's 19-0. And the history of this sport says, beat a world champion, fight for a world championship. Eloev just beat Aljo Sterling. That should have been the one. When he beat Aljo, he should have been in talks to fight for a world championship. But 4 days ago, he was at a press conference where it was revealed to us that Eloev will welcome Aaron Pico into the UFC. And as we started to realize 4 days ago, 3 days ago, 2 days ago, 1 night ago, as we started to realize as the event of UFC 314 got closer, unless Pitbull had the ability to come in and be the white knight in shining armor, we didn't have a challenger. We didn't have anybody at 145 that was even talking about wanting to fight for a belt. Eloev happens to be guilty of that too. Now, he gets a pass. He had the right to not be talking about a title shot if he believed he had his hands full with Aaron Pico. Where the hell that happened? Aaron Pico's in a different organization. Eloev, way back, I was there at it and watched it, got the jump on Aljo. He should have been talking about it then. Eloev, if he is in fact 19-0, never should have allowed anybody to put him and Aaron Pico in the same conversation. But he did. Now he's going to be fighting Pico. Well, we're sitting around desperately in need of a world title challenger. And a guy that's 19-0, who's a good-looking guy, who just beat a former world champion. That sure sounds like the kind of guy that we could use. All right, well, let me give you an updated version, because the fight between Eloev and Pico is now broken up. It is broken up to the point that even though we saw a press conference and heard the announcement, we are told that no, we did not, that was never actually said and that fight was never actually on. And behind the scenes, you have a group going in this direction of Eloev versus Volk. But behind the scenes, you have, and it's a much smaller contingency, but it's going in a very different direction of no, if you're going to break up Eloev Pico, put Pico against Volk. And that one is gaining some ground. Debuting Pico, he's got a record of maybe 7-3. I know I'm close on that. But debuting him for the championship, there is a discussion of that right now. And I just wanted to fill you in on that. I think I just wanted you to hear that. I need to bring out the name Eloev. Because if that's the direction that we go, and I know what Yuri Rodriguez says, and I know he said that he was promised a title fight with a victory, but some of those conversations, you're right. At all times, you're as good as the information you have. If you believe that Diego Lopez is going to win, you know that Yair versus Lopez, you know they just had an organic beef. You know that would be a fresh, young matchup. Whereas Yair versus Volk has already happened. There was nothing competitive about it. There's just simply not anybody now or since it happened asking to see a rematch. So you see where you could find yourself in a little bit of a situation. But if you do go with Eloev Volk, you're taking Volk, who just headlined, who just main evented. That's not a main event. They go to free TV. They go Saturday TV. They can go do a show for the troops that they're not even expecting TV. You're not putting that as a main event. There's no promoter in the world that's going to put those two faces on a poster and say, "Here it comes." And I'm only sharing with you, how do we change that? What do we do about that? Whose problem is that? It doesn't bring me some big joy to sit around and say that. But as I look at 145 pounds right now, there's just not a good idea amongst them. The king of the 145 pounds, their own champion, had no interest in the weight class and walked away. The next best thing, the lineal for 8 years, #1 contender, Max Holloway himself, said, "I got no interest," and he walked away. The two top guys aren't even there. All right, doesn't change the problem. Still got to have somebody for them to fight. So, yeah, Yair Rodriguez believes that he's already been told, do a job, get a job. He did the job. He's expecting a job. But I want you to know, Eloev and Pico, regardless of the press conference you saw last week, they are now telling us, no, that announcement was never made. That was a misunderstanding. That was a coincidence that Eloev and Pico were both there and possibly faced off. There was never a contract. And all I can tell you, before we go out and correct or amend that statement, that if that's the spot that we're in, we, at least the audience, are being given a minimum of information that fight, somebody from that fight, is being looked at to be pulled up all the way to a title shot against Volk. And I'm making this piece to prove to myself what I already know to be true, which is there's not an interest in it. And there's not any scenario. There is not any scenario where Volk and Eloev goes into a main event, which means Volk, who is just a main event in a promotion, is going to be going backwards.